Hello, everyone. This is Tijen Genco, Master Certified Coach, Board Certified Health and Wellness Coach. You are tuned into Coaching with Mastery and Elegance with Tijen Genco. And today we are celebrating a big milestone in my life, and I hope that will also be contributing to the world of coaching, birth of my new book, Comprehensive Coaching Taxonomy. And my beautiful companion, Sajili Mohan Chawla, is here with me to have this dialogue. Welcome, Sajili.
Thank you. Thank you, Tijen.
It's such a joy to have this discussion with you. And a little later, we will have another wonderful companion coach and a mentor is going to join us, Philip Chen. And as we get deeper into the discussion, we will be sharing a part of a coaching demo that I have done with Philip. So I'll keep that on the side. Stay tuned. And Sajili, where would you like to get us started?
Well, I think where a great starting point is for all our listeners to really know that, Tijen, you have decades of experience, and it's very unique in many ways because you have done such in-depth work in the field of coaching. We have programs from you from a neurological lens, from a somatic lens, from a philosophical lens, from a psychological, spiritual lens. So a Chinese understanding of the body and Reiki, and so it's such a holistic, truly a holistic way of approaching the whole journey of coaching and partnering. And I don't know, hundreds of coaches have benefited. So this book seems to really be like a like a coming together of it all for our benefit. So you started by saying it'll hopefully be beneficial. I am very sure it will be.
Thank
And
you.
and so in that context, now that the book is available for all of us, um, I thought a good place to start could be to check what for you was the specific call which said, which the need that let me organize this in the methods and the processes and the thinking in the form of a particular book, and call it the taxonomy, because which, as all the listeners would know, is really the science and practice of classification, categorizing things. So well, maybe that's a place we can start.
Yes, thank you. That's a beautiful place to start. So I've been not only a coach in various dimensions, such as internal coach, external coach, health and wellness coach, and all that, but I'm also teacher, mentor, and assessor. And I've been assessing for the schools that I'm engaged with, but also ICF at all three levels. And most recent years, I started to get a nudge because regardless of the levels, and now we have a big boost around MCC submissions for ICF, I'm receiving as an assessor the candidate submission after submission, submission after submission, submission after submission. Focus is on the candidate, the coach themselves, because they are coaching to the competencies, not the client in front of them. There is a disconnect. That's one of the main reasons that client is presenting beautifully, opening themselves up, and the coach is not responding to what is being presented. They are going the competencies just like if they were a checklist and casting their questions. And now that there is an AI, right? AI can do much better job at that. That's besides the point. But that was the biggest reason. The secondary reason that as I'm evaluating, I'm looking at the client's presentations of the self. At times, as you said it in the opening, that I teach multidimensional aspects in coaching, and I call them different access languages, because a coach's response needs to be relevant to what the client is presenting. If we look at linguistically, sometimes our language will present with a larger emotional tone. Sometimes it's going to present reactivity in our systems. Sometimes it's going to present our deeper psyche, symbology, metaphors, archetypes. Sometimes it's going to present our dreams and visions. And what I'm also seeing, especially as an assessor, now I have access to the worldwide school system, right, that trains the coaching. It's like 90% of the time, coaches' responses, this beautiful spectrum of presentations through the analytical lens. And it's mismatch. The client is over here, coach is here, coach is here, coach is here. It's not meshing. And when we connect, that's when the beauty and the development happens, right? That's what the coaching is, partnering with somebody when it's done properly to support their change facilitation. If we're here, over there, then we left the client alone. What's the purpose of that? So that's why I decided to write the book.
Wow. Yes, I mean, listening to you, I can almost feel how partnering has probably taken a back seat as compared to competencies.
Yeah.
And I know I have heard you say many a times in the various classes and courses one has attended that to be more attentive to what are we leaving on the plate, which is being left unattended.
Yes.
Yeah,
And there
yeah.
is almost in a way that to me it's unethical because
Sure.
you are contracting with someone, whether you receive a money or not, to listen to them.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
your listening is focused on your performance. That's also that aspect, right? Yeah.
Yes, yes. And I think many a times it has been we've had these conversations around how important it is for the coach to do their own work,
Yes.
because otherwise, yes, yeah, I see that. Right. So, how does this book then represent an evolution of your professional lineage taking this forward?
Mm-hmm. So, as I briefly mentioned earlier, right, that what I find is that most of the coach trainings are focused on a particular methodology, evidence-based method, and so on. They are method-driven and missing holistic aspect of human being. So therefore, in this comprehensive coaching taxonomy, and I called it generative and regenerative pathways to high resolution coaching, because first of all, the multidimensionality is missing in the relationship, even when they include some aspects of the identity, for example, what are your values, strengths, and so on. The relational aspects is leaving a lot of things on the table unattended. And my students often ask me, give us questions, and I will not do that. So I wanted to produce something that speaks to mechanisms required in the architecture of human relationship in the moment. I am highlighting a map and the mechanism, availability in a given moment, that how we can relate to another human being and what would be the best way that that moment is requiring through an inquiry generative pathway, through a reflection regenerative pathway, and how to shift from that one to the next, it's not like, okay, I ask 5 questions, now I should reflect. It's not like that. But listen and receive the client, whatever they're presenting, finding the most appropriate mechanism to relate and to carry forward the human support and the human change facilitation. So that's what I envision the book will be helpful. In another thing, maybe it is easier to look at it this way, Sajili, right? We all learn how to speak our languages or a secondary language and all that, right? We learn the grammar, we learn what's to say appropriately in a culture and not. But nobody, I don't know anybody, teaches you sensitivities in listening and responding to appropriate highest potential on that moment, right? That's what I intended to also deliver with this book.
That's a lot. And yet, since I've had a peek into parts of the book, I'm quite sure that it may be worthwhile to just elaborate a little in the sense of when you speak of generative being inquiry and regenerative being reflection, really for our listeners to say that if we think of inquiry, how many aspects can we think of? And really going back to the various facets which you sort of look at, we will find in the book inquiry at the level of emotion, somatic, energetic, narrative, cognitive, neurological, field, system, symbolic, integration, embodiment. I mean, there is so much there. There is so much there. So tell us a little about, while you have given us a very clear overview, but tell us a little about the architectural choice behind this structure. Like, how does it really support that and navigate a session with, as you always use the word, elegant coaching?
Yes. First of all, it invites the coach to use their whole faculties as a perceptual faculties consciously, right? You and I talked about it. Some of the now I hear as an assessor submissions, they're attempting to relate to some human through somatic response, but it is at a very primitive level, right? So we want to enhance that awareness, enhance that understanding, possible pathways to relate to another human being so that the choices are made consciously, not unconscious following of a competency. So that is the one invite. And the other thing that basically one of the main focus of my teachings in this book is the coach's presence to receive and perceive the moment and what the moment is required, because it's not only the client, but the relational field between the two. And there is also differentiating. This is why I talked about generative and regenerative pathways, right? Think about looking at something under a sunlight. It has its purpose, brings a lot of clarity of the dimensions, and one can categorize, qualify, whatever. But then looking under the moonlight, the same thing. Very different response, right? Here's another thing. Looking under a light, direct light to the room, the objects in the room. We can see, we can identify, we know where everything is. But imagine that there are crystals through the windows, which I have them in my house. They produce different reflective light, right? So that's the regenerative pathway. I see often coaches also leave that on the table. And that if we're only presenting one form of light, then the awareness can only come out under that light. But if we present a spectrum of opportunities, then human consciousness have the capability to choose and also look at their environment through their own reflected lights, right? Light is touching us, and then there is also reflecting through inside out. We gotta engage all that. And the moment, the opportune moment, which I call it integration bridge, to know when to coach becomes in more generative way and the client is receptive, and when the coach needs to be receptive and the client needs to be generative, right? So we need to really understand those two aspects. And I think that are part of the missed opportunities that I see as a global assessor and the coach and the mentor that are not being necessarily potentialized. Welcome, Philip.
Hello, Philip. I think it's such a vivid representation of the lights. I don't think we would have thought of light from so many perspectives to really understand how many avenues there are for us to really relate to another person. I just want to go back to something which you mentioned, which was the relational field and
Yes.
its impact on change facilitation. Because you see, most coaching resources are a what to do kind of a format.
Yes.
So, so do say a little more about the relational field and its impact
Absolutely.
on change. Yes.
Yes. There are studies, right? One can look at this from an esoteric point of view, energetic point of view, but there are quantum physics and quantum mechanics and all that. So in fact, that the particle, when it's observed in the quantum physics, that when it is observed, the particle's behavior changes. If the coaches, again, focus is on their own performance and the competency demonstrations, they're not observing. And therefore, particle, the client's behavior is going to be different. What we put into the field then, the relational field between the coach and the client, matters. In fact, if you think about you being coached, right, Sajili, where the coaches keep pushing you to act on something when you're not ready, what happens to you in that moment as a client?
Annoyance.
You receive it, even if it's presented in the best way, one can feel it.
Absolutely.
So, what I'm saying is that the coach's awareness needs to go beyond the client itself, but what they are exerting into the field. What is the client putting in the field? What is emerging, downloaded in the deeper psyche, from the client's deeper psyche into the field? And that's coach's intuition also matters as a receptive, perceptive faculty. That's why it needs to be part of the coach training to an education, this field discussions.
You know, what's really coming up so strongly for me, Tijen, is while every coach worth his or her salt has heard the word and used the word and tried really to partner, but what's happening with all that you're bringing to us through your study and your book, Comprehensive Coaching Taxonomy, is really it's it's giving a whole different dimension to partnering.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it can just blow your mind and the offering to another level altogether. I mean, there's that much depth and possibility and expansiveness to that.
Yeah.
Very,
Thank you. And
very
that's why I was saying earlier that we learn to speak the language. We learn maybe
sure.
something to how to be a partner with somebody, but we don't really learn how to listen and how to eloquently choose our words, right?
Well, now that Philip is here, I just want to say one or two things before we include him as well, which is that again, it's for the benefit of our listeners that incredible spectrum of generative inquiry has a correspondingly large section also on the regenerative reflections. So there are reflections on from the emotional perspective, somatic, energetic, narrative, cognitive, and so on and so forth. And of course, we have a beautiful entire section thereafter. Emergence over action, even the choice of those, you use the expression integration, but it's really, you spoke about coaching presence and you spoke about perceptual faculties, using them consciously. So the choice of this emergence over action, I think, again points to what you started with, which is not just the checklist of competencies, but really the partnering of it in its essence.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to pause here and see how you would like to take it forward with Philip. And because there is a beautiful section thereafter on high resolution coaching.
Yes. Yes.
And a high resolution, again, I thought is a very clever use of the word, because we all do understand that expression.
Yeah.
So I'm going to over to you.
Thank you, Sajili, and welcome, Philip. It's so lovely to have you here with us. I want to, in this point, that it will make sense for us to speak about the high resolution coaching. And we prepared a little demo for our listeners, and it's not necessarily a demo, that was a real coaching session where I was doing with Philip during a class. And we're just going to share with you a little bit part of it. And the idea is that I chose the word because if you think about low resolution, anything, right, on TV, if you recall those days that we had low resolution TVs, right, you can see the pixels, the colors were not that great, and you couldn't fully select the objects and all that. Versus high resolution, you bring things in a higher degree visibility, clarity, and recognizability. And that actually adds additional dimensions. Before I get into that demo, I wonder that, Sajili, you were also present in that session. Would it make sense for us to talk a little bit about that experience and then play the demo?
Well, if that's a better way to do it, then maybe I can say a line or two, because yes, I was there.
Yeah.
And I think what happened for me was that literally, how would I share it with refraction? You know how we have in the water, if I put a pen or something, there is a point of refraction. It looks like this, right? It just doesn't look. So why did I bring it up? Because suddenly I thought of it. With everything that Philip, as the client, said, there was a shift. There was a shift. There was a shift, because you were truly the client, and one, you were with the client, and two, you were making the client aware of something and going a little deeper in the process of inquiry.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was like the shifts were literally with, I mean, I haven't, and I've attended a lot of sessions, but it was very, very distinct.
Mm.
And the other thing which I also clearly noticed was that there was a minimal use of words, but Philip, as the client, was deeply reflective.
Yeah.
So I think the resonance was really like this.
Yes, generative and regenerative.
Yes. It was.
Excellent. Yes. Thank you, Sajili. And Philip, welcome. What would you like to share with us?
Thank you, Tijen. Thank you, Sajili. Thank you for having me here. And as a coach, as also a coach trainer, I think the word is allergic to coaching jargons and all those like textbook questions. And I think in that session, I was bringing a real topic, a little sensitive. I'm not really sure how we would be able to really work on that in a class. And I did experience what exactly Sajili said. Like, I didn't feel that I was trying to, follow Tijen. I was basically really held in a place that I could really explore my whole experience. The question was a little challenging, but not too much. I could really go in and to explore the unknown. For some reason, like I had some other coaching experience that some question I would just being put in this super allergic mode, or I couldn't really answer. But I think in that experience, um, every question helped me drop deeper, have new awareness, and really engage in this reflective process.
Beautiful. Thank you, Philip. So we selected that there is a 5-minute section we're going to play out because we thought that that demonstrates multidimensional relationship to the client through different forms of inquiry, different forms of reflection, and inner integration bridge, sensing what's the right moment to shift from inquiry into also to the reflection. So let me just basically start that moment.
Thing is, recognize the change of my needs. Or, I mean, the change of my needs can be according to what I see and what I experience and all those that actually I changed. Then here's another pattern that I've seen you is that not necessarily standing aside throughout the experiences to see how you changed, what happened to you, how do you relate and adjust and regulate. This seems to be another place. What do you think? Yes, I was just all in it. And to a point I was like, oh, almost like the water is like here already. And I was literally overwhelmed and I need to say something, otherwise I just couldn't be with it. So then if the water is up here, I could feel the tears coming up for your relationship to the other. Where is the water for your relationship to the inner? Inner, you mean inner self? Mm. I think right now I actually feel quite firm and clear. I mean, at this moment, I feel it's maybe just here. It's a very comfortable place, or like, comfortable is not the right word, but I think this is the right place. That it's not like too easy. I feel like I speak for my truth. It takes effort, but it's not to a point that I couldn't manage. Yeah. Let me ask in this way. I think your response was in relationship to the other person and how do you feel. But in general, if you were to turn the lens inside and look at how do you relate to you, where do you think that your water levels are at? It's really here. I mean, I still can breathe, but I can barely breathe. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the sad part. Yeah. And I realize I am being undervalued even by myself. Mm-hmm. Is it given or just you? I think it's just me. I guess I was not, like, I was ignoring that for years.
Do you need a hug?
I'm okay. I mean, I don't. I think that I just recognize that make me feel I can make a difference.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm responsible, I can change.
Okay. Now, I can see that something is brewing. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So where is the brewing part inside of you, and where is the sad part inside of you?
The sad part is actually here. I can even still feel that, and it's getting lighter and lighter.
Mm.
And the brewing part is here. Something around my belly. And the sad part is like here. It's around my eyes and face and this area.
Yes. And what is happening to the heart?
The heart is in the middle. The heart is closer to. I think the heart is like quite shaking. It's not stable at the moment.
Okay.
You know, actually, that translate into sometimes I feel I probably should just let go. Sometimes I feel like, oh, that doesn't work for me. I should just, stand firm and push through this negotiation.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there is the should relationships to the self.
Yes. I almost feel that, oh, how about the student? If I just let go, maybe there's a sense of responsibility, all that.
Mm. But no responsibility for you.
Yes. I mean, no.
Okay. So that's where we are. And Philip, what would you like us to know about your experience?
I still enjoy watching that snippet for some reason. It's a little embarrassed, but I enjoy this, turns and twists every moment. And first of all, I just realized it's such a wide range of your listening. I mean, my cognitive, my heart, my somatic, and every part you held everything. Nothing was ignored, and everything was integrated and offered in a beautiful way, and I can just navigate in all that. That's why I was feeling like I was really in that experience. That's one. The other is some of the reflection were a little edgy and challenging, but you presented in a very neutral and caring way so that I could really drop in and trying to reflect on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, beautifully said. Thank you. And I was actually, as you said it, intentionally, as you opened up, listening, and your responses were inclusive to very different parts of you. Your symbolic part, emotional part, energetic part, cognitive part. Even in that nuance, I was doing my best to present forward what was most potent without leaving things outside. Yeah, yeah. So, Sajili, anything you would like to share?
Yeah. Yes, thank you. So I think it demonstrates so beautifully that a human being is multidimensional in any moment. And so, for example, the client, Philip, brought up um, water level, and
Yes.
then how you use that. And clearly, the focus was entire, as far as Philip, the client is, the focus was on the people out there. And effortlessly on your part, that's your skill and mastery, you brought in the focus inward.
Mm-hmm.
And when the client was still outward, you just rephrased it to bring it back inward. There was no fluster. There was, that was one. And instantly there was an energy shift to the point that, for our listeners, he had spoken about sadness as an emotion earlier, and you wove that in now. But if we listen to Philip, he spoke about that sad part, but not with sadness anymore. It was more a recognition of it. So that shift happened. And then he, the way he was held, like he's been saying, he took a leap himself into recognizing that, oh, I undervalue myself. So in a matter of, 2 minutes, the whole conversation and shift, and he almost landed on his 2 feet even while looking inward when he was able to, say that, look, it's undervalued, right? Not just there. And again, he spoke about here and here and here. And the minute you said what happens to the heart, and another energy shift. Where he himself says, but I can change.
Yes.
So, and there was such conviction out there. And it's like there's not a moment to breathe, Tijen, because he spoke about that with stuff. So he spoke about the heart not being stable, but how he said it was with great stability.
Yeah.
That's the holding. And finally, one more. I was also, Philip, getting so excited, even though I was present when this was happening. And then Philip spoke about, the client spoke about should. Now, nothing gets missed by you. That's the presence, right? So after that whole emotional, symbolic, cognitive, immediately the cognitive error should. And woven into the context of your relationship with yourself. So it's complex, it's profound. I will just encourage the listeners to go back and listen to this little clip again. Maybe I was listening to it another time, second time. But there's all of this and more over there. And yet the competencies are alive, but way, way, way,
Yes.
Yes. Beautiful.
Human forward coaching, I say. Yes. Philip?
Yeah, there was no formulaic question, nothing about like where do you feel it, how do you feel it. It's almost like this. And one moment I still remember, I was talking about I was undervalued even by myself. And Tijen was saying like, is it even or just? I was literally I took a deep breath and I was like, oh, it's just by myself. I still remember just that subtle word change. And how were you listen? And this is this is high resolution. And it's I was kind of still very surprised and honored to be coached by you and listen to it again this way.
Thank you, Philip. And by the way, for the listeners, stay tuned because Philip and I are going to have full episode on unpacking that conversation. So that will be more revealing in the high resolution coaching. But you could see that the water level is not only symbolic. There is an energetic component. There is an emotional component. There is the inner experience. So therefore, you were talking earlier, Sajili, like 16 forms of types of inquiry, 16 types of reflections. And they are not even the exhaustive list, but I needed to stop somewhere. But one needs to understand that and also how to weave in, right? The mastery come in. If I said, okay, whatever you become aware, that's still helpful. But if I weave that awareness, like, oh, there is the sad part, then I'm recognizing the client's shift and then presenting into the further potentiality of integration in there. So it maybe then I can speak about your earlier point before we get into this high resolution demo, Sajili, emergence. that the emergence here is that the client's agency and sovereignty, owning their own domain and behaviors and values, returned. Without that return, no matter how much action you can plan, it will not be sustainable because underlying architecture is not there to hold the system in place. Clients' awareness and returning to their own sovereignty establishes the fertile ground and proper holding outward self-expression. And that's the reason why that in my methodology, I put more emphasis in the emergence and then the outward self-expression through that awareness is highlighted.
Yeah, I was reflecting on it the other day, and especially nowadays, I'm also playing with AI. And I was just thinking that, hey, I mean, AI can analyze the transcripts and maybe like really label and asking all the different inquiry. So what's really different is one, those in that emergence, and the other is the quality of the relationship. And somehow you held a beautiful feel that allowed me to drop deep into my experience. And for people who know me, that I'm highly analytical. If you engage me in a super analytical, heady place, I could really debate with you and say, no, no, no. I mean, it's even, it's not just. I mean, I don't have the should for, for all the different reasons. But somehow I was really able to go there with that way of partnering. So,
Thank you for that, Philip. Definitely. And I teach that in my classes, right? Go through the back door. Why? I'm not going to go to an intellectual debate with somebody quite intellectual, and that's not the right door. And by the way, listeners, that there were 6 other people in that room where Philip is talking about our specifically formed energy field between the coach and the client, regardless of the observers. So that's the form of the field formation, intentional field formation that we spoke earlier. Yeah, thank you so much. So Sajili, where do you want to take us from here?
I think I just do want to mention here that just like it's really extensive, the facets and lenses of inquiry and reflection, even in the emergence over action, your book has living practices of transformation coaching. And also there are, Tijen, I was counting A to J. Those are the appendices, that many appendices you have given, because you've really... it's truly an offering at every level, you know. So my next question comes from that, which is that, you know, it's this book is a companion, and really it'll meet you at your level and take you from there, whether you are at whichever level of coaching and certification you may be. So how do you then envision the book being used by different audiences, and not just coaches, but also mentors, trainers, assessors? You know, it's there's that much in there.
Yes, thank you. In fact, I am planning on creating workbooks out of each of those appendices, because each of them can be a book itself. So I was thinking that what I envisioned, because as mentioned, my rich practice, right? The coaches who are wanting to develop the mastery and beyond, they can understand and read the book and use it to understand the human relational mechanisms and further develop themselves in that access languages. For mentors, they and the coach schools can actually look into these structures and hopefully start to teach the architecture of human relationship through the mechanisms and teaching them what the moment requires instead of what to say. as Philip was saying earlier, right? Not necessarily diluted version of human relationship, but the enhanced and cultivated. And the assessors actually use this book to look into each moment and each time what the client is presenting and what the coach is doing with it. Right when the client said, "I have water up here," what I usually hear is that, "What does that mean for you?" Now, what did I do? The client coach took that symbology, somatic experience, turned it into the meaning making. That's not the right mechanism. That's not the right move. So then if the assessors don't understand that, they may think, oh, the coach related through the symbology. Okay, they met the competency. They did not. That's not an appropriate response. And when the client says, turn it back again, my water level in this here, and that's not sufficient. There is more to be done with the water, right? Then the assessors can also see how the coach is really responding, what's resolved, what's not resolved, where is the client, how is the coach responding. So those are basically my intentions with the book. And obviously it's also helpful. Anybody is in the human communication, whether they are leadership trainers, leaders themselves, but my main focus was that enhancing the quality of human relationship, understanding one another so that we can stand by one another appropriately and be heard, understood, and supported as we move through the changes of our lives.
Now I'm wondering, what can I ask after your beautiful statement to stand by one another appropriately? It's so little said and so much expressed. I think all I'd like to say is that this book is definitely a very unique offering. And if there is anything which you feel, Tijen, which as yet needs to be said in terms of a larger invitation which you want to extend to the global coaching community, and whatever you feel this work will help seed, if there is anything more in that direction.
Yeah, thank you. I will answer that, but I want to check in with Philip if there is anything else you wish to share with our audience, Philip.
No, I just feel that it's a beautiful offering, a beautiful gift. As a student, as a coach trainer, but I'm really looking forward to really engage in it, not as a checklist, but just try and experience and see what's the real impact of how this way of relating to the client could actually make.
Yeah. Thank you, Philip. So my invite is to all human race. Trust your intelligence. Trust your perceptual capabilities. And no matter who is teaching you to be less than who you are, you have the capability to deny that and elevate your communication to the level that is high resolution if you choose to, and experience that level of interaction. Because look at it, right? Why do we get into coaching? We want to help somebody. But then if our focus is on the competencies and our self-performance, what happened to that noble intent? Where did that go? Isn't that a sad thing to experience for yourself and the people who decided that you will be helping to? So if you want to step out of there, let's meet here. And by the way, we're recording this on May 11, 2026. Book just became available, still being distributed. It is available on Amazon, and right now, as I work through other distribution channels, you can find some links to access. But this week, I am also offering 3 sessions to have a dialogue with me about it through the International Coaching Week. I will also share those links along with the description. So thank you both for being with me today. I so appreciate your presence. And as we share the message and make this a calling for higher resolution relationship. Thank you.
Thank you, Tijen. Thank you, Philip.
Thank you, Philip, for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.